answering more questions for all of you from the comments that are on my videos and on some of my posts. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and comment below, but I'm going to be covering and answering some of the questions that I've gotten on my channel. So the first question is on, can I use fountain pen ink and Rotary Ink isograph technical pens? That was a video that I had made, and the question is, hi, I was thinking of buying Rotary Ink for dip pen with Zebra G nib and Pentel pocket brush pen. Could you tell me if it will work for both of them? I don't think it will work with the Pentel pocket brush because the ink is going to dry up, and you won't be able to use the pen because because it's a brush pen. What will happen probably, if it's the type that I'm thinking, the whole tip of the pen is going to get completely dry and there will be no flex in it, because once that type of ink dries, it's a harder ink then, and there's not going to be any flex, so you won't be able to use it in the Pentel pocket brush. Now for a dip pen, that should work, but the Rotary ink seems to be fast drying, so I think that if you have it open, then the ink is going to dry pretty quickly. And you can probably get other inks far cheaper because the Rotary ink is a little bit on the expensive end. Although when you use it with an isograph technical pen, the ink lasts a long time when you get a big bottle of it. So you're probably better off just using a different type of ink, like the inks that you use for fountain pens to use with your dip pen, or ink that is used for calligraphy rather than using the Rotary Ink isograph ink. And the next one is on pen comparison and review, Sharpie pen versus Pilot Precise V5. And the question is, I would like to see if there is more show or bleed through with one or the other. Do you see any difference? I would say between the Sharpie pen and the Pilot V5 Precise, the Sharpie pen dries a lot quicker because it's more like a marker than a pen, really. Whereas the Pilot Precise V5 takes slightly longer to dry, but as far as bleed through, you might get more bleed through with a Sharpie pen than you would with a Pilot V5, I think. But it depends on how you're drawing, because the Pilot V5 is a rollerball type of pen, and the Sharpie is not. It's more like kind of like a marker. So I think that the marker, well, it's called a Sharpie pen, but I see it more like a marker. I think the Sharpie pen might do more bleed, like it might go through the paper more, I think, than the rollerball, because the rollerball just kind of glides across, whereas the Sharpie, it kind of soaks into the paper more. But as far as which one I prefer drawing with, probably the Pilot V5. Next question is on the video of, can I use fountain pen ink and Rotary Ink isograph technical pens? And the question is, can I use Rotary Ink isograph ink to refill microns? You could, although I've never done that. I'll have to try it sometime, and when I do, I will let you know how it works. But I would imagine that you might have issues with the ink drying up at the tip of the pen. That might become an issue. I can put Rotary Ink isograph ink in this because it's a rollerball pen. The tip of the pen isn't always exposed to air because it's in the cap, but I think the issue you're going to have is that with the micron it might dry up a little bit, but I will have to try that myself sometime and test it and see how it works. Next question is, You have so many nice looking pens. Mine were cheap, except I use several isographs. When choosing paper, how do you avoid the ink feathering on the paper? It seems to be a harder job finding good paper for pen drawing. Yeah, I use moleskins. It does a little, not really that much at all on there, really. I use, if you use a heavier weight paper, then you're not going to get much feathering. So something like a moleskin, a Rhodia sketchbook, I think it's called Borden and Riley. It's a type of paper that's good for technical pens and fountain pens. You could use a crescent render. Something that is good for drawing with fountain pens is going to work pretty good when it comes to drawing with technical pens. You won't have much feathering or bleed through. So choose a smooth paper, heavier weight paper, preferably if you're going to do a lot of, if you're going to be putting a lot of ink in the paper. So very smooth paper, preferably heavier weight. And as long as it's a paper that works really good for fountain pens, but remember smooth, then it should work for technical pens. Next question is stippling drawing tutorial. Can we do this on canvas? Yeah, you can do stippling on canvas. The only thing is if you do it with a pen, you will have to be more careful. Or if you do the stippling, you will have to do it on a type of canvas that is thicker, because if you push the pen on there, it's probably going to go through the canvas. So you could probably do stippling with a brush, or maybe a larger nibbed pen, or something like that. If you get too fine of a point, it's going to go into the canvas, unless you've already got your canvas prepared to where you put what's it called? It's been a while since I've done painting. I'm trying to remember what it was called. You paint a layer over it. Let's say you have your canvas and you paint a layer of white paint on it. Then once that dries, then you can do stippling over it. But I think you'd probably be better off doing stippling with a brush than using a pen. Something that could work is a fine point brush pen. That would work pretty good on a canvas. Next question. Was on Sharpie marker doodle on milk jug. Improvised doodling. And the question was, can you use Sharpie on milk bottles? I don't think it's going to work on glass unless you get the industrial type of Sharpies. They make that as a different type of Sharpie marker that will work on glass. I don't think this will stay on glass because I've tried it before and it wipes off pretty quickly. Next question, abstract swirls with gel pen. The question was, have you tried fountain pen with ballpoint nib? I've never used a fountain pen that has a ballpoint nib, but I guess that would kind of be like, would that be similar to just using a rollerball pen like this one here? Because I put ink in it. Well, this is actually not supposed to be refillable. These are, one and done. You use it once and you throw it away, but I've refilled it. But I think that's going to just be like a refillable technical pen or a refillable rolling ball pen. I would imagine it's similar, but I think the difference would be that you would be using fountain pen ink. But I've never used a fountain pen that has a ballpoint nib before. Let's see. Next question here. Is the Pilot V5 technical pen with blue ink? And the question is, could you tell me if this pen has a metal nib? I can't find info anywhere. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a steel nib. It's a roller ball. So yeah, those are steel nibs. Although I don't know what type of metal or if it's aluminum or steel. I think it would probably be some, I don't know. I know some type of metal though, but I'm not sure what kind. Next question is mechanical versus wooden pencil. Which one to use? Let's compare. Which is better, mechanical or traditional for students for studies? I think for students, you're probably better off with mechanical because you don't have to worry about constantly sharpening them over and over. Whereas mechanical pencil, you just refill of lead. You've got the same line width all the time. So I think you'd be better off using mechanical pencils as a student. Let's see here. Next question is on my Rotary Isograph and fountain pen doodle. And that was talking about my first computer build. And the question was, are you using a Lamy fine or medium? The pen that I'm using, which I have disassembled right now because I've been cleaning it, this is part of it. This one is the Lamy Safari extra fine nib. I prefer drawing with extra fine nib fountain pens. If I use something like a medium, I would only use that to fill in areas because it's just too wide of a line for me because I like to draw more detailed. Next question was, have you ever thought about being a motivational speaker? Not really, but I guess I sort of am in some ways on my channel with some of the stuff that I make. It's not really my intent, but I guess I could be in some way. Next question is, what size you prefer for sketchbooks? I prefer drawing in anything from this size, to something that's half the size of that or smaller. If I draw in bigger sketchbooks, I tend to draw with large nibbed, like this is a 0.35. If I draw in a sketchbook smaller than this or half this, I tend to draw with something like a 0.25 or 0.18. Although I will use the 0.35 in this, the bigger ones, and then I might go in later on and use the 0.18 to do more details. And the next question was on a video about fountain pen ink, and the question was, can I use this Rotary Ink for microns in any fine liners? A similar question to what I had gotten before, and I'm not sure. I've never tried that. I will have to try it sometime. And when I do, I will let you know how that works. Let's see here. Next question was on where do I get my drawing ideas? And the question was, can you tell me what kind of paper you draw on? Let's see. Well, in this video, I'm pretty sure that was my Daily Ronnie sketchbook. It's a cheaper paper that I was drawing, and I was just doing kind of, not that detailed drawings, kind of just scribbling stuff away for that. And I had another question about drawing. It was on another video. It was asking about what paper I was using again. And this was on gel pen doodle. And it was, that was a Daily Ronnie sketchbook I was using again. It's a cheap sketchbook. I think it was like around $5 or less. Okay, next question was on the Rotary Isograph 0.35 nib replacement and a noodle doodle. And the question was, how do you keep your pen from being clogged? Do you have any trouble starting it up each day or every few days? The best way I keep it from getting clogged is to draw with it often, to draw on smooth paper, to make sure I'm using good ink. I use the Rotary Isograph ink for the Rotary pens. I make sure to clean the pen often. I clean it once a week, And I also clean it whenever the reservoir runs out of ink. I put it in water, I rinse it. I put it in a, you can buy Rotary Ink Isograph cleaning solution. I don't think I have any with me at the moment. I've just been cleaning it in water, but I do have to maybe get some cleaning solution for these. But I draw with them so often that I just rinse it in water and then it seems to be working. Although if you use it with anything smaller than a 0.35, you probably want to get cleaning solution, but I still recommend that you get the Rotary cleaning solution for all the pen nib sizes. And as far as starting up, I mean, sometimes if I haven't drawn with it for a while, like if it's been a few days or weeks, which is very rare that I haven't drawn with this more than a week. I have a little bit of an issue sometimes with it starting up, and I just run it, the tip of it under, I hold it like at this angle, and I just run warm water over the nib of the pen. If it'll focus. But I just run warm water over the nib of the pen while I hold it at that angle, and it helps get the ink flowing. And then I'll just kind of shake it a little bit. Then I'll dry the tip of that off with a paper towel, and then I can start drawing. Next question. Let's see here. Da-da-da. And this was how to fill Rotary Ink Isograph Technical Pen ink refill tutorial. And the question was, is this an ordinary ink or specifically for the Rotary Ink pen? The ink that I was using in that video was an off-brand of ink. It was, I don't remember the site that I got it from, but it was not, I don't think it was the name brand for Rotary Ink. It was an off-brand of it. I haven't really had any issues with it, but that was the ink that I was using, and it's specifically for technical pens. But if you want specifically for Rotary Ink, you would have to go with the Rotary Ink Isograph Technical Pen ink. And I use a blank ink. I don't have any other colors at the moment. I could try sometime. Maybe buy some red ink and do some drawing with it. I think that would be pretty interesting. But I always kind of prefer drawing with black ink on white paper. It's a lot of contrast. But those are the questions that I've answered for today, and I'll have more that I'll be answering in the future. But right now, I'm going to go work on some more doodles. So if you got any questions about anything, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. And until then, you have fun doodling, and let me know if you have any questions. So I will see you all later, and have a good day, and have fun doodling.